Good morning, guys. We're now in Wellington. Been in Wellington for like 4 or 5 days now, and I'm about nearly 3 weeks into New Zealand. So we're actually in another stadium, which is a cricket stadium, and it's called the Basin Reserve, which is right in the heart of Wellington, right in the middle of the city, and it's used to play Test cricket. So it's actually open. You can just wander in and just have a look around. So we are going to just have a little look around the stadium, and we can watch the people doing some bowling. So the stadium is actually the site of New Zealand's first ever cricket Test victory against England in 1978, and it was their third Test victory at this ground. Mark Burgess's first Test as captain, can't say I've heard of him, and Richard Colliage in the first New Zealand bowler to get 100 Test wickets. Jeffrey Boycott was playing. As you can probably hear, it's pretty windy. It's always pretty windy in Wellington. Windy Welly, as they call it. I'm not sure off the top of my head whether any teams actually play here, like domestically. This plaque commemorates world record for the 6th wicket, 2014. Some Brendan McCullum and BJ Watling set a 352 run record, and New Zealand got their record score of 680 for 8 here. And then a year later, in January 2015, Watling, the same guy as in that record, set a new world record for the 6th wicket, 365. Really interesting. We've got a memorial here called the Wakefield Memorial, which sits just over the top of the ground. It's named after a guy called William Wakefield, who is from Essex and was educated in London at the Westminster School. In 1827, he was given 3 years in prison at Lancaster Castle, which is where I went to university, Lancaster, because he assisted his brother Edward Gibbon Wakefield in the abduction of heiress Ellen Turner. He was then released and joined the British Legion, and his brother then employed William as part of his plans to colonise New Zealand. He actually negotiated the purchase of Wellington from local Maori people, and he remained the leader of the settlement until he died in 1848. His friends then went and sought subscription for a memorial for William, and this memorial was built in 1882 in the grounds of the Basin Reserve. So it was then removed, but in 2003 the Wellington Council decided to restore the memorial and move it as near as possible to its original location. So here it is. It was then restored again in 2006, and now it stands here. So William has the perfect view of every cricket match at the Basin Reserve. It's like the practice is finished. Obviously no idea who they were, but I imagine they're some kind of professional cricketers. But what a pretty ground, right in the heart of Wellington. So Wellington City Centre is up there. You can see the memorial, the War Memorial, just there in the background. You go just past that and down, and that takes you into Wellington City Centre. So we're literally 10-minute walks away from the city centre. There's lots of people carrying on their regular days in the middle of a cricket ground. And here's the view from the other end. It's quite an impressive little place. There's some seating around here, but other than that, it's all sitting on the floor up there. Beers on the grass. So according to this information, the Basin Reserve was originally intended to be a safe harbour for ships that would access the harbour through a canal, but the city continued to develop, and then in 1855 an earthquake hit that had an 8.2 magnitude, and it massively affected the landscape of Wellington as a city, and it also created a new shoreline. So the shoreline in 1840 was really far inland from where it is now, like a few hundred metres at least. So it's quite far inland. and it's completely changed the way that Wellington looked as a city. So they actually decided to give up the original plans and turn this little area into a cricket ground in around 1863, where they went over to a prison at Mount Cook Barracks, and they offered prisoners free labour to flatten and drain the reserve and turn it into a cricket ground. And cricket began being played here in 1868, when the Wellington Volunteers played against HMS Falcon. It wasn't a very good first game though, because the first team to bat here scored 37 and lost by 9 wickets, 38 for 1. So it actually started out being rectangular, as you can kind of see in that photo there. You could fit 2 football pitches in there. They've also played rugby here. Look at these photos. They played loads of test matches. As you can see there, that list. The first ever test was England in 1930. They've also got some games coming up against Australia here, I think, in the T20. They've also played rugby, hockey, Aussie rules football, and some boxing. They also did some cycling here and athletics back in the 1880s. Yeah, what a cool little ground this is. So a little side note to finish. The woman warming up down there was actually Sophie Devine, who is a New Zealand cricketer, bowler, but also a very handy batter in T20s. She actually became the first ever player in men's or women's cricket to score 5 consecutive T20 international 50s, and then added a 6th as well. So yeah, she's a very famous bowler. She's known as a bit of a legend in New Zealand cricket, so you got to see her. Shame I didn't know who she was before she went off field, but there we have it. That is the Basin Reserve. Here's my we are back, and we're in Christchurch this time, because there's another stadium where I think we can go and get access to have a look around, so we're going to go and do that. But we're currently in a car park by the Botanical Gardens in Christchurch, and the sound is just amazing. I presume it's crickets. It's just so loud. Hopefully it's coming through on the camera. If not, probably cut out. But yeah, welcome to Christchurch. I've been here for like 5 days, and it's a pretty cool place. Not a lot going on, if I'm honest. Not much to do here, but it's a city that's been affected by earthquakes quite a lot in the last decade or so, and there's a lot of building work going on still. So yeah, it's an interesting place. There's quite a lot of nice things to see. It's a nice little place. But today we're going to go and look at this cricket ground, and we'll be there shortly. So we're in Hagley Park, which is on the other side of the city centre to where I'm staying. So it's basically a 20-minute walk from the city centre. But it's got a golf course over there. Doesn't look like there's just much happening, not many people playing on it. And then there's a croquet club, and there's, I believe, a petanque club behind it. Then the other side of that, there's some touch rugby fields where all the lights are. There's quite a nice little setup in the park. A lot of stuff to do. Not many people doing it yet because it's only midday, but yeah, an interesting little setup. A bit further along, there's a load of tennis courts. Hard, and it looks like grass tennis courts as well, which is fairly unusual to see. I don't know how good the condition of those is. They don't look great, if I'm honest. And there's this gorgeous little water garden surrounded by lots of cool plants, and admittedly some very green water. And then in amongst all this green lusciousness, you can just about there make out 2 floodlights, which are the floodlights to the Hagley Oval, which is another international cricket ground right in the heart of the park. So that's what we're going to have a look at now, because I've heard you can just walk in and have a look around. So we'll head over there now. This side of the park belongs to Christ's College. So there's a huge field here, which is according to a sign over there, rugby, football, cricket pitches. So local teams also play here. There's the Riccarton Cricket Club Pavilion is here. The Riccarton, a little area, like a little suburb of Christchurch, I guess. As you can see, it's just open entrance into this cricket pitch, which New Zealand do play at. They play test matches here. And over this hill is the Hagley Oval, which is actually quite impressive. So as you can imagine, there's only that area of seating there, which is very unusual for a test ground. So it'll be seating on the grass. As you can see, it's a beautiful day here, and it's a pretty fantastic setting for cricket. So yeah, the pitch is lovely and green as well. So I've just come to have a little sit down underneath the kind of makeshift, whatever this is, like a media centre, I guess, or camera. It's like the cameras, I'm guessing. But as it seems almost symptomatic of this trip, we missed out on a New Zealand match here in the T20 series against Pakistan. That was on the 21st, so that's like 10 days ago, so about a week before I got here. And then there's a game next Saturday, which is the local team playing against Auckland, and that's on Saturday, which is the day I leave Christchurch. So yeah, not having much luck with trying to watch a bit of sport over here, but we got to come and have a look at this pretty little ground, which is very unusual, and you wouldn't see anything like this in the UK. To have an open international stadium where you can just come and have a little pooter around. So interestingly, the first ever test match was played here in 2014 when New Zealand played against Sri Lanka. So they actually moved here because the original venue, Lancaster Park, was damaged in the earthquake in 2011, February 2011. So they looked for a new place to play, and they came up with the Hagley Oval, which is why it's all open to the public and so wide open. And in that first game, Brendan McCullum hit 195, who is the current England coach. So here's the stadium from the other end. This is the Richard Hadley Pavilion, where some of the seats are. They look relatively comfortable. Little cup holders. There's the side screen from this end. That is the Hagley Oval. Hopefully we'll be back more with some more stadium related videos. For now, goodbye for now. See you later.